Welcome to the Cannabis Equipment News Podcast.
Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to a new episode of the Cannabis Equipment News Podcast. With me today is Jill Ellsworth, founder and CEO of Willow Industries. Thank you very much for joining me today, Jill.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach me at david@cannabisequipmentnews.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You can also subscribe to our daily newsletter. Make sure you get it delivered to your inbox first. So, Jill, it's been a little bit more than 3 years since we last talked, and I was actually shocked that it has already been 3 years. But
I can't believe it's that long.
So, how's it been?
Well, I mean, things are good. Things are good overall. I think we all have been subjected to where the industry is and has gone over the past 3 years. I tell people think back to 2018, 2019, when there was so much potential and everything was on the up. And just it's so interesting to see where the industry has kind of leveled out and where we are right now. Although I do feel like there's an opportunity for us to it's turning around. I think things are starting to pick up. On our end, it's also been really interesting to see what's happened in the world of decontamination. The market got really saturated. There was a lot of players that came in. So I feel like, we're doing well as a company. We've continued to innovate. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the whole industry has been a challenge.
Mm-hmm. What have been some of the biggest challenges in the industry that you've seen over the last couple of years?
I would say one of the biggest is customers, our cultivators going out of business. Not being able to withstand the environment and the marketplace and not being able to continue growing, cultivating cannabis, and having to close their doors. So obviously, that impacts us and obviously a lot of other ancillary companies. I think that's been a huge challenge. The regulatory landscape has also been a really big challenge. I mean, constantly changing rules and regulations across the country. You had Oregon get rid of aspergillus testing. You've seen states kind of amend total yeast and mold, making it more restrictive, less restrictive. So obviously that really impacts, the core of what we do. But again, we've really tried to innovate around where we believe the industry is going.
Where do you believe the industry is going?
Well, I mean, I really believe that there is a huge opportunity for the industry to continue to grow up. I mean, with rescheduling coming, I think there's a big opportunity for us to become very, very legitimate and move towards what I think we believe is what this industry will look like 5 to 10 years from now. And with that comes, implementing really good practices within cultivation, within manufacturing, and ensuring customers at the dispensary level that this is, you're selling clean, safe products.
It has to be difficult just because the state of the industry, it feels like everyone's growing up together. What's it like when you see cultivators, these long-standing partners that just don't make it?
I mean, it's really depressing. It's sad that as an industry, they couldn't be supported, whether it's because of the tax implications or regulatory or a really congested marketplace. I mean, it's such a bummer. As a business owner and an entrepreneur, I hate to see other entrepreneurs not be able to foresee their vision through. So for me, that's sad. But I also think it's more impactful on the industry broadly.
From an equipment level, when that happens, do you get your equipment back or does it kind of just go to auction?
No, we definitely get it back.
Okay.
So our business model has been where we lease our equipment. Okay. And so, yes, if for some reason a cultivator has gone out of business, we do get that back. So it's not on an auction block. We don't want to see our equipment there simply because of the challenges in working with ozone. We want to make sure that we control a lot of that.
No, that makes sense. When we talked 3 years ago, we talked a lot about creating this cannabis kill step. In your opinion, have we made any progress in the last 3 years?
It's a really good question. I would say that we have started to see a shift towards preventative treatment instead of reactive, so that cultivators are implementing this in their SOPs in line in production. I think we're seeing that more often rather than this very reactive approach where we get inbounds. People are like, oh my gosh, I failed 10 pounds. Just come clean this. And again, I never want to see you. I think cultivators are realizing the importance of having a technology, whether it's us or someone else, on site to ensure all batches are treated uniformly. So we're getting there. I think the term kill step still is not being used widely. There's still a lot of disagreement in that word. For instance, Colorado had, instead of choosing kill step, they chose microbial control step.
Okay.
In the regulations, kill step was, there was a lot of pushback on like, this is not a true kill step based on how the FDA assigns like this type of technology or like this type of process. So microbial control step. But I feel like we are getting there, that there's more interest in assuring it's a prevention rather than reaction.
Was it just word choice? They didn't like the word kill in there, or was it just they wanted to change the definition of that use for the technology? Why did they change it from kill step?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think that I do think that I think the term kill step is aggressive, right? And so they were trying to find a way to not be very similar to food and beverage, because there are some differences here. Because in food and beverage, you have to show clear reduction based on a log reduction of microbials. So they felt like this was a gentler, softer approach without having this a term that's coined by more regulatory agencies.
Okay. You were talking earlier about some of the regulatory changes that we've seen come and go. What have been particularly challenging for you guys? And were there any that you found to be, a positive, moving the industry in the positive direction?
I would say that the Oregon getting rid of Aspergillus testing was definitely disappointing. Not simply just because of like the company that I run, I think for consumers. And there's so much debate around whether Aspergillus is dangerous when you smoke it or whatever it is. I just think broadly that I think was probably not a great move for us as an industry. That will be so debated, would I say that. But I also think that there have been caveats within a lot of rulemaking that have supported cultivations, that they may have raised the TYM limit to say, okay, it's not 10,000, it's 100,000. But I think, we have to remember, if you have a testing limit at 100,000 CFUs, you're not going to have so much onus on the cultivation to maintain a really clean, sterile environment.
Well, that was, as I've spoken to regulators, operators, other people in the industry, I've heard it a couple of times now. Like, I've never seen an industry fight so aggressively to market a moldy product.
I know.
I know. Does that shock you? Is that more of does that come from the legacy market? Where does that come from?
I would say maybe legacy, but honestly, I'm not sure. It's been a conundrum for us. It's why are we debating selling moldy products to consumers, period? Like, that is not something that you want when you go to the grocery store. Like, you do not buy the moldy strawberries, period.
Yeah.
So why is it okay to buy moldy weed? Again, it's such a hotly debated topic. I'm like apprehensive to even give you my opinion because of how like visceral and triggering this topic is. But no, I do not believe consumers should be sold moldy products, period. And I don't know where that thought process comes from.
When you're talking to clients or prospective clients, do you find yourself sometimes like walking on eggshells, just trying to figure out like, okay, where do they stand on this issue?
Yeah. especially if it's not, an inbound to us. If we're out, reaching out to cultivators and exploring, the use of our technology and how they believe in decontamination or remediation. It's definitely it's a touchy subject, but I also believe there's sure, there's not research around what it happens when you smoke mold. There is the aspergillus, but there's not like a ton of research. And I think that's what people are saying, like, well, there's no research showing that it's dangerous. I mean, I think as humans, we know it's not right.
Yeah. Agreed. And it seems like, I don't know, like you said, it seems simple sometimes. You talked about some of the other technology that's kind of come out onto the marketplace. Is the industry working together, like regardless of the technology, when it comes to kill steps and remediation, or are we all sort of fighting one another as to who's best?
I definitely think there's a lot of infighting going on between the technologies. We have definitely tried to stay away from that. We don't disparage our competitors in the marketplace. Everyone has their own purpose and their own benefits. And I feel like it's up to the cultivator to choose what's best for their organization and facility. But no, I mean, I've definitely tried to bring together a lot of our competitors, especially on the regulatory front, and like, let's have this let's go into regulation and say, there should be this, there should be that. And there hasn't been that conjoined effort. I mean, this industry is like, it's pretty cutthroat. So
Yeah.
it's like,
No,
one for yourself.
I understand. Does ozone work best for specific situations? Is it a one size fits all for cultivators?
I don't think it's a one size fit all. I do believe ozone is best used in a cultivation that really, really cares about their facility and the cleanliness of their facility and has very clear SOPs and HACCP plans and ensuring that, from seed to sale, like the plant is treated with kindness and respect and that it is a safe product. I mean, we cannot typically ozone is not used to clean really, really dirty flower. It's a surface level decontamination method. And that's what we said from the beginning. Like this wasn't meant to clean black mold and botrytis. It was meant to get rid of any sort of surface microbe and ensure that that product is safe at the end.
Are there still issues or myths out there regarding the safety of the product?
In terms of before or after decontamination?
Or using ozone in general?
Oh, I mean, yeah, there's so many myths. My gosh. I come upon one almost every day. I was like, well, that's not true.
What's the most recent one?
I mean, definitely this we hear often ozone produces formaldehyde. I mean, we have done tons of research around that to show that no, ozone does not produce formaldehyde from terpenes within our system. So I mean, there's a lot of falsities out there about ozone and willow but we continue to focus on what we do best and put out research and continue to develop and innovate good technology.
Talking about clean facilities, another thing that we talked about previously was the importance of clean cannabis. How important is it for the industry moving forward that it is marketing clean cannabis?
I would say, why not? And I know a big issue is consumers don't know what they don't know. They don't know the product's being tested. They don't know that it goes through a decontamination step. But why not start educating them? And I think the concern is you're going to ostracize someone if they use a technology that someone doesn't like or know. But if we're educating people and we're telling them why this is happening, just like we tell consumers why their milk is pasteurized, why not tell them that cannabis goes through a step to ensure that it's clean and safe, then it goes to testing to get a final COA, and then it goes to the shelf. I feel like we're finally going to get to a place where that's important, but we're definitely not there yet.
Well, and I've spoken with some people that have suggested a label of some sort, or I mean, I understand that, in the cannabis industry, we don't need another line item on the label, but, maybe something that says like, hey, this has been treated with a kill step, maybe just to give a little bit more consumer confidence.
I think I've always championed for that. For years, I've been championing for that. And interestingly enough, Las Vegas and Nevada just came out with some potential new labeling requirements that say if you treat this with anything, you have to have, like, it has to be on the label, but it has to be in a place that a consumer can go to and get this information. So I think we're slowly getting there. Colorado's doing some stuff around this. I think Massachusetts is talking about it. Definitely Michigan. This is like a very hot topic there. I mean, it will happen. It's just like when.
Okay. No, I mean, talking about it being a hot topic in Michigan, I've certainly seen a lot of those debates online. Do you jump into any of those arguments, or do you just kind of look at it from afar and then understand how maybe you got to target your messaging?
Exactly what you said, the latter part. I mean, there's so many ways where I could jump in and like have these conversations, but the internet trolls definitely like come hard and fast. And so there's like no point in debating that. We know what we stand for, we know what we do, and we definitely amend our messaging and marketing to kind of adopt to what's happening within the marketplace. But I try to stay out of it.
Yeah, there's no other, or it seems, and just in my experience, there's no other part of the industry talking about like internet trolls. We're like, if you just, from my standpoint, if we publish a story about using this type of technology where they come out of the woodwork like, who do you work for, man? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's an interview. And it's like no other part of the industry, though, does it sort of get that sort of response.
I know. Isn't it totally crazy? I mean, again, I started this company almost 9 years ago. I would have never, ever imagined or like thought that it would be so triggering and such like a very, very like visceral topic to so many people. It was like the intention was provide a solution to cultivators to ensure consumers were safe. That was it. And now it's just like, how dare you? How dare you, do this?
Yes, I had no idea I was such a pawn of the cannabis deep state.
Now you know what we go through. And now you know like why we don't typically engage, because I'm sure like that would get us like nowhere.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I just keep asking, really? Of all, you have such little time in a day. Really? Okay. Let's discuss this on LinkedIn. Do you foresee any potential issues that'll come up with the recently announced rescheduling?
With decontamination or just kind of broadly with the industry?
Starting with decontamination.
I would say that we're probably going to see more strict regulations. I mean, if like bigger regulatory agencies are getting involved, they're going to only be concerned about consumer safety. I mean, look at food and beverage, look at pharmaceutical. It will all move in that direction. So again, I think cultivators need to be ready to have very clear HACCP plans and SOPs and GMP. Make sure like you are set up for success. But I think on the equipment side, what will be really interesting is like if 280 goes away and there's more cash flow, will cultivators be able to bring in more equipment? Will they be able to really, ramp up on the cultivation side and the manufacturing? I'm excited to see like what that does. And I'm sure like, for your platform too.
Oh, absolutely. As you're talking to some of these cultivators, where are they at in terms of spending capital? Are they kind of in wait and see mode to see what happens with potential rescheduling? Or, I know a lot of times people use election cycles as a result or as a reason to not spend capital. What are you seeing in terms of a financial standpoint in the market right now?
Well, if a cultivator needs decontamination tech, they're going to get it. They're going to find the money regardless because they need to pass testing. They need to get clean product out there. So we don't see like a whole lot of wait and see with that, but there's also a lot of wait and see in terms of okay, well, we might not bring it in just yet because we might pass testing here, or we don't feel like there's an imminent need. But I do think that there's going to be, a whole lot of interest and demand in terms of bringing more equipment in to streamline processes, once there's like more cash flow available.
Okay. Um, Talking about more regulations, for some it seems like an inevitability. For others, they're still in wait and see. You know, what do you think it's going to take for the people that are stuck in that wait and see mode? Is it going to be the firm regulatory hand coming down?
I think so. I do believe that will be the case because, we've talked to some cultivators, like I guess Vermont is going to do some changes within their regulatory structure. So some cultivators we've talked to are saying, okay, well, we're going to wait to find out what they're going to say. And then in Michigan, is there going to be a labeling requirement? In Nevada, is there going to be a labeling requirement? If so, we're going to hold off until we hear that.
Okay.
So, it's kind of a little bit of both.
Okay. From a technology perspective, what are you guys working on in terms of an innovation front?
Well, we just released our new product, Willow Air, to tackle and combat air contamination. Definitely a great product to put in cultivation and manufacturing. So we have been really pushing and promoting that. And interestingly enough, Colorado has a lot of rules and regulations now around respiratory health. So there's a lot of need and demand there. And then, we continue to innovate, definitely push our science team. I mean, just going back to what we were talking about is being GMP ready. We have a whole team of scientists that are GMP certified that really understand how to get your cultivation that certification. And, continuing to like market and really educate the industry. Okay, why are you doing this? It's not because you're trying to cut the rules or cut corners. You're trying to do the right thing.
Just looking at it straight at the technology, what is Willow Air?
So Willow Air is a air filtration device. It uses MERV 13 filters that get rid of pathogens and particles within the air. So they pull it in and push clean air out of the top of the system. They're plugged into a standard outlet. They can be used really anywhere within cultivation. A lot of our partners have put them in trim rooms, dry rooms, packaging, a lot of areas where particulate tends to be, definitely for employee health. I mean, of course, we want to protect the plants, but employee health and safety is really, was our impetus in developing this product.
Yeah, how does it help in terms of respiratory health? I mean, and was it designed specifically with Colorado in mind, or just kind of overall throughout the industry?
Overall throughout the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we've seen some issues of, very, very widespread things on employee health and safety. And so if you're talking about particulate matter within the air after trimming, after packaging, I mean, that can be really dangerous to employees. So these systems pull that particulate out of the air and push clean air out. So they have a space to breathe particulate-free clean air.
If people are interested in installing a system, are they relatively easy to put into place? And what is the training and ramp up?
Very easy. Like I said, just plug it into a standard outlet. There's a few ways to hang it. You can bolt it to the wall, you can hang it from the ceiling, or you can set it on a table. And then you literally turn it on.
Okay.
And the filters pop in and out. So we can send you a monthly replacement of filters. We've made it really easy, kind of a plug and play type technology. We haven't added ozone. There's no UV. They're very simple, but very, very effective.
Okay. What has been the initial response ever since the product came out?
It's been great. I mean, there's a lot of competition in this space. So again, more education needed as to why you would choose our product versus the million things you see on Amazon. But I mean, it's been really positive. And
Okay.
it's a great addition to our decontamination system. Obviously, air contamination is a culprit to failed tests, and so this certainly helps with that.
So why should people pick the Willow Air over the millions of things on Amazon?
Well, because we're industry experts, so we know what's going, we know how these like work within cultivation and manufacturing. We know how to protect employees. The MERV 13 filters are some of the best and like the strongest in terms of getting particulate out of the air. It's at a really competitive price point for the amount of air that it cleans and circulates every hour.
How much air does it clean? How much does it clean every hour?
So you get 5 air exchanges every
Mhm.
hour for a
Okay.
full room.
Okay. How long was the product under development?
Gosh, it's been a long time. So we first contemplated doing this in 2020. And then then we struggled trying to figure out how to do it. And then I would say this time last year, we were finding air contamination was just such a culprit to, like I mentioned, plant contamination. And so we're like, we need to develop another product that tackles this.
Okay.
And so this went back to the drawing board of like what we had originally contemplated.
Well, and I understand that you just had a new product release, but do you have anything else that's coming down the pipeline?
I mean, we definitely have a few things. We are, more of like software, doing a little software focused program right now, but which we'll be talking about soon. But we also have a Willow water system that uses ozonated water to clean surfaces, walls, floors. And so that's also another new product that we've released.
When it comes to your customers, and I don't know like how you use NDAs and stuff, but do you have one customer in particular that just is doing it the best right now?
I mean, I have a bunch. Yes. And of course we are under NDA and I unfortunately can't say out loud who they are, but we definitely have a lot of cultivators that have employed our science, our technologies, Willow Pure and Willow Air, and are like kicking butt. They're putting out high quality, clean flower. They aren't failing tests. And this is all in line, right? It's not reactive.
How long, once kind of a customer decides to bring your technology in house, how long until they start seeing a change?
Well, if they're adding our science and all of our recommendations there, I mean, that can take, 3 months. 3 months, I would say. I mean, right when they bring in the Willow Pure decontamination system, obviously they can start seeing measurable changes because they're putting out clean, safe product that's passing testing. Willow Air is really quick. I mean, that's pulling particulate out almost immediately. And a lot of times we provide plates to all of our customers so they can see before and after. And that I think, that visual is a real indicator of like, oh, this is working. This isn't just snake oil. And so I think that's been really helpful. It's like, see, here are the plates. See it with your own eyes.
Um, when you mentioned when they follow your science, do they sometimes bring the tech in house and then just go rogue?
Oh yeah. You know this industry. Of course. Or they don't listen to any of the recommendations or how to use the system. And a lot of people still think like it's going to be a magic pill. And that's not how this was ever designed. This was not how this was intended. And it's a process. The onus is on you to like have a really clean cultivation. And this is like the cherry on the top. That's like how I always envisioned it. And that's what I've been saying from the beginning. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it just does not work
Okay.
out
Is
with them.
Are you able to monitor how your systems are being used, or is that how some of that new software might come into play in terms of like, hey, we're all playing on the same dashboard here and we know what's going on?
Yeah, so we do have a portal where all of our machines are connected to. So we can see what's happening with each machine at each cultivation, which I think is really helpful. One, for the operator to see, okay, it is working. It's doing all the things it's supposed to do. Some of the new software stuff we're developing is with AI. And so we're really excited about that. But yeah, I mean, I think there's, it's just so much opportunity for innovation and growth within this sector of the industry.
Do you ever get proactive where you kind of see what's happening with the numbers and you're just like, hey, why don't you call those guys and just give them a hand?
Yes, we monitor all our machines daily. So our product and customer success team are all over that. So
Okay.
they know what's happening. And if something like we can also see ahead of time if like something's going wrong with the system and can call the customer right away and be like, okay, this is happening. We need to fix this. So we're going to power you down and do whatever we need to do on the back end. But yeah, we monitor that like all the time.
From a regulatory perspective, what are some of your expectations, things that might be coming down the pike?
I mean, the labeling thing is such a big part of it.
Hmm.
Again, I think that's just a consumer need. And I think they deserve to have this knowledge. I mean, you deserve to know if your food's organic or not, right?
Right.
You deserve to make that decision. I think customers should be able to make the decision of what type of flour they want to purchase. I do think we're going to see some changes within CFU levels, aspergillus testing, is pesticide testing going to become a lot more stringent based on like everything that's happening in California? I just think everything's going to get a little tighter.
Yeah.
Especially with rescheduling coming.
Do you do any sort of advocacy when it comes to new regulations, or do you kind of wait until they're published and then react?
I mean, we have in the past. There's not a lot of, opportunity now because I think a lot of the states have been set. We have definitely advocated for consumer safety. And it's public. I've spoken at a lot of the Nevada CCB meetings about labeling and that transparency. I've spoken in Michigan, I've spoken in Colorado and Massachusetts. And I've said, like, consumers need to know, they have the right to know, labeling should be required, and that it's not a bad thing. And of course, we have certainly advocated for, I believe testing, and it doesn't just necessarily mean it's better for Willow, because it doesn't always mean it's better for us. It's better for the industry overall. And I've been championing this for 9 years, so this is nothing new.
From a state of the industry perspective, do you have any idea as to what new states might be coming online next?
I'm in terms of like legalization.
Correct.
I mean, definitely, like, I think what's interesting is what's going to be happening in the South.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like some of the new states, like Minnesota, I think will be a really interesting opportunity. It will also be interesting to see like how they implement their regulatory framework. And then, I feel like there's so much around New York,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of the kind of haphazardness of what their regulatory framework looks like. So, how will that end up rolling out? I think will be interesting.
Have you done business in New York yet?
Yeah. We
How
definitely work with a lot of cultivators there.
how's it going for the cultivators there? Any good news coming out of there?
I definitely hear good stuff. Some of our partners are doing really well and selling a lot of flour. I do think there's definitely a struggle, and there was a huge learning curve on moving from hemp to marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the learning curve of testing. Sure, it's not required, but all of our partners that are there are testing. And so I think that learning curve was a big deal.
Okay.
But I think more cultivators are getting comfortable with that now.
Do you have many international customers? And what were your thoughts on the news coming out of Germany?
It's amazing. I think it's amazing baseline for, hopefully what will be more of that European expansion. We do have customers in the international market. And again, they are subjected to really, really strict testing requirements, GMP standards, really strict thresholds for total use to mold and bacteria and coliform. So they just have a whole other world that they deal with, which has been interesting to see in comparison to the US. But yeah, we've definitely expanded more internationally in the past year.
Okay. I like to always ask what people's predictions are for federal legalization. So have you gotten any more optimistic, more pessimistic in the last 3 years as to when that might happen?
Well, I think 3 years ago, I was like, oh my God, this is going to happen in 3 years. So it would be right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened this week.
I feel like I definitely feel encouraged that we're moving towards rescheduling. I mean, I feel like that's a boon for the industry. And if you're still here and you're still in it, that's a huge milestone. Obviously, we need to get to it. And there's been a lot of pessimism lately, based on like that Chevron ruling. But I don't know. I mean, I still feel like federal legalization is probably 5 years out.
Mhm.
And now with like the political landscape, oh my gosh, it's like,
I don't even know how to describe the
what
political
about
landscape right
you?
now.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I guess given the current climate of the current administration, it might be a Hail Mary to stay
I
relevant.
know.
But I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, I was very encouraged with some of the language the vice president was using, just in terms of, and I understand that a lot of that's bluster, but it was going beyond the normal talking points that you see show up. I mean, the fact that it was mentioned, I believe, in the State of the Union address, the fact that it's being mentioned publicly and being pushed forward, I find encouraging. So I would, but I mean, same thing. If 3 years ago, I would have thought that it would already have been a done deal.
No, I know, which is just so wild.
Yeah, I guess I would like to see, I would like to see more state by state cooperation in terms of what's working and using that, copying that over state to state, rather than like copying 80% of it and then just kind of going rogue for another 20. Just because it seems like we're going to have so many disparate regulations. And I understand, like, a big part of pushing federal legalization is that, like, okay, we already have 30X states that have some form of legalization. And so, the majority is there to push it through. But just like, I think that the logistical nightmare that is that reality would be harsh for the industry. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's like, it definitely, to your point, a Hail Mary for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, like maybe 2 months ago, if you asked me the same question, I would have been like, I'd have almost a completely different perspective. But the last 2 months, it's just been a little grim in terms of options.
I know. It's like whiplash. You're like so excited. Then you're like, wait, what? Wait, no.
Yeah. What happened there? And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I stay optimistic. I am an internal optimist and I'm very positive by nature. So like, I believe it will happen and we will get there. It's like the timing, man, is really tough.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time coming on the show again. But I mean, before we get out of here, is there anything else that you want to make sure the Cannabis Equipment News audience knows about yourself or your work at Willow?
Well, I would love to just quickly talk about our partnership with the Cannabis Research Coalition.
Oh yeah.
I've always admired Dr. Justice and Ashley Manning, and they're incredible women and doing incredible things with their research facility at Clemson, and working in conjunction with Clemson University. And so we donated many Willow Airs to their facility so they could continue to do their incredible research in a very, very clean, healthy environment, supporting them on the safety side. And, just excited to see like where that partnership goes. I know they have such other incredible partnerships with other industry amazingness. So we're just excited about that. And I believe that, anyone out there should definitely support their organization.
How did that partnership come together?
Well, I've definitely had a relationship with both of them for many years, and we've tried to figure out how to work together for so long. And when we released this product, the Willow Air, I called them and I was like, "You guys need these. We want to donate. We want to support everything that you're doing, all the research." And so, we were able to make that happen.
Is there any work in particular that they're doing at the Cannabis Research Coalition that you're particularly excited about?
I mean, I think they have a lot of stuff coming up. I know they're I don't even know like what I'm even allowed to say. I think whatever they're doing there right now is super cool. Like the smokability thing research they just came out with was incredible and super fascinating. So they're just pushing the boundaries on, I believe, where we've seen research before.
Okay.
And, they're just very smart women.
I know that some people are a little hesitant sometimes just because, you never know what's going to come out of the study. But I definitely think that more resources need to go there, especially as states are allowing more cannabis research to take place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're really pushing the boundaries of what we've seen in the past in terms of research and working with some, an organization or a university like Clemson.
Yeah. No, it certainly gives it a bit of credibility.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, please send more information on that. And maybe we could have one of the researchers on as well.
You should definitely talk to them. They're amazing.
Okay. Well, anything else that we missed before we get out of here?
I don't think so. We thank you so much for having us on and letting us talk about all things, that are very triggering to the industry, which are around decontamination.
It is. So, I mean, yeah, probably instead of federal legalization, do you have a prediction as to when decontamination won't be a triggering topic for the industry?
I don't even know. I don't know. I wish I did. I wish that everyone just understood the need to have this. I guess I wonder when they started pasteurizing milk, was it also this controversial?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's still advocates for raw milk.
This is true.
And I mean, I think there'll always be that. It's always going to be there. But overall, the majority is yeah, please make it absolutely safe to consume.
I know. And I think it's around, this whole concept grow clean. Okay, well, that's nearly impossible at scale. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can have a clean cultivation with GMP standards, all of that. But, if a trimmer touches a bud with a dirty glove and it fails testing, so that's why there's a need for this type of technology. But yeah, it's not to cut I know cultivators cut corners. I get it. And sometimes they use tech to do that. But that was never the intention of Willow. Right. That was never the intention of what we're doing. So we've remained very clear on our mission and values.
No, well, I really appreciate you taking the time, Jill. Thank you very much.
Same here. It was so great to talk to you.
Before we get out of here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach me at david@cannabisequipmentnews.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You can also subscribe to our daily newsletter and get it delivered to your inbox first. For Jill Ellsworth, founder and CEO of Willow Industries, I'm David Manti. This is the Cannabis Equipment News Podcast. We'll see you next week.